right now. All right, so these are two-step inequalities. Now, on the worksheet we just graded, we did one-step inequalities, meaning we either added or subtracted, or we multiplied and divided. Today, we're going to do both of those steps. So remember, you only have to flip the sign when you're multiplying and dividing by a negative. So anytime we had an adding subtracting problem, you didn't have to worry about it. Well, today we're going to be adding, subtracting, and multiplying, dividing on every single problem. So make sure when you're doing the multiply and divide step, you double check to make sure you have to flip or not flip. Now, that being said, some two-step inequalities, like we had the two-step equations, are actually three steps. Or some of the steps, sometimes we have big fat fractions. If we have big fat fractions, have to take care of that first. If we have parentheses, we're going to have to distribute first. And if we have like terms, we're going to have to combine those first. Those are all things we would do before we do our steps. So this is like the pre-step. Some equations, we have to take that pre-step before we get to the two steps, which is the adding, subtracting first, and then the multiplying, dividing step, and possibly flipping that we'll do afterwards. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at our first one. I think you'll find that what we're doing today is no different from the two-step equations we did during chapter 3, with the exception of occasionally having to flip the sign. You don't have to flip equal signs, do you? And if you did flip an equal sign, it still looked like an equal sign. Yeah, it wouldn't change. Example A, Joe, what's my cousin Eddie term? That's right. Remember that? Add 4 to both sides then to get rid of the negative 4. Joe, what's 11 plus 4? 15. So now we have 5x is greater than or equal to 15. Step 1 done. Okay, that was the adding / subtracting step, in this case, adding. Navion, what's my next step? What number do I need to get rid of now? Yes, always get rid of the cousin Eddie term first. Now, or the constant term. It's really called a constant term. And we're going to get rid of it because it has the least relationship with the variable. The bond relationship is the 5, and I still need to get rid of it, but I'm going to wait on the 5 until now. And so what's the opposite of multiplying by 5, Navion? Excellent. Navion, what's 15 divided by 5? 3. X is greater than or equal to 3. And then we graph. What do you guys think? Open or closed circle around the 3? It's going to be closed because it has the bar underneath the symbol. And is X bigger or smaller? Bigger, so we shade to the right. Bigger, so we shade to the right. All right, example B. Frank, what's the cousin Eddie term? It's the 4 again. Okay, so what's the opposite of positive 4? Good. 13 minus 4 is what, Frank? 9. So when I write down this negative b over 3, which I don't know, maybe your brain's thinking what my brain's thinking right now, there's a negative sign with the variable term, which means we're going to have to flip. Okay, maybe you've already noticed that. But even if you haven't noticed it, I think it's a good idea when we write this to go ahead and put the negative with the 3 down on bottom, because I don't want to forget the negatives there. I have to get rid of the 3 and the negative. So I might as well just make it a negative 3 and get rid of it all at the same time. Natalie, what's the opposite of dividing by negative 3? Multiplying. So when we multiply by a negative 3, we will have to flip the sign. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take care of that right now. Flip the sign, and that's what goes in that blank right there. Flip, because we're multiplying by a negative. And then Natalie, what is 9 times negative 3? Use your calculator if you need to. I don't know if you'll want your calculator, but you have the option to continue using calculators on any of the notes, homework, quizzes, tests. What do you get, Natalie? 9 times 3. That's right. And because it's a negative 3, we're going to make it a negative 27. Two negatives make a positive when I'm multiplying or dividing, and in this case, one negative would just keep your answer negative. All right, so I'm going to use what kind of circle do you guys think here? It's an open circle, and is B bigger or smaller? It's now bigger because we had to flip the sign. So we're going to shade to the right because all those numbers are bigger on the right side. They're less negative, so they're bigger. All right, example C. Natalie Ariano. What's the first number we're going to try to get rid of here? And how do I get rid of it? Good. Natalie, what's 5 plus 7? Close. 12. Okay, so there's step 1. Step 2, Aaron, is to do what? Divide by 6. Whenever I'm dividing by a positive number or multiplying by a positive number, I do not have to flip the sign. Only when it's negative, like the last problem was. Joe, could you shut the door for me? Aaron, what's 12 divided by 6? 2. Please, please, please keep the variable on the side it started on. Right, Taylor? Keep the variable on the side it starts on, because if you flip it over to the other side and you don't flip the sign, which you're thinking, wait, I have to flip the sign? No, you don't have to. But if you wrote it like this, with the variable on the left side, you would have to. Why force the extra work upon yourself? That's what my question is. Why would you make it harder than what it needs to be? Instead, just leave it like it is. That's a good enough answer. Can you tell me if C is bigger or smaller than 2? Bigger. Bigger, yeah. They don't need to rewrite it to tell. So I'm going to shade to the right with an open circle. Whitney, what number am I going to get rid of first with example D? The 4, exactly. What kind of 4 is it? So I put a negative. That's right. Put the opposite. Now, that's why this whole time I've been asking you to put the opposite number underneath. Yes, you could have just said, isn't that subtraction? Yeah, it is. But if I would have told you to do the opposite of that, you would be wrong, because it already has a subtraction sign. So but that subtraction sign is actually a negative sign that goes with the 3. So think about what number you have to get rid of. Don't think about what the opposite of adding is. Think about, or subtracting. Think about what the opposite of that 4 is. And so that negative 4 means we are going to subtract 4. And Whitney, what's 19 minus 4? 15. Copy down the negative 3D. Another common mistake with this problem would be to forget that the 3 should be negative. Speaking of negative variable terms, Hunter, do you think we're going to have to flip on this one? We totally are. Yeah, it's got a negative variable term. So our next step, Hunter, would be to divide both sides by negative 3, which is why we're going to flip, because anytime you multiply or divide by negative. Okay, so the sign is getting flipped like that. Hunter, what's 15 divided by negative 3? Negative 5. So we flipped this one. Flip, 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 flip. Just a reminder. All right, what do you guys think? Open or closed circle? It is closed. Is D bigger or smaller than negative 5? It is smaller, so shade to the left. Good. At least we got the graphing down. Example E. We're in here until 12:55. We have 10 minutes. We have 10 minutes to get to K. We got to do K. So that's 6 more. I think we can do it. Example E. Addison. Addison, which number do you think I should get rid of first? What would be the cousin Eddie term? That's right. Nice job. And since it's a positive 8, we're going to write the opposite, which is, that's right. So when your variable switches sides, so does the cousin Eddie term. Right? I'm always trying to get rid of the constant term that shouldn't be on that variable side, which is the 8 in this case. You have a question? Yeah. Addison, what is 9 minus 8? 1. So now we have 1 is less than. And then I don't know if you noticed or not, but that minus sign in front of the E over 3 is actually a negative sign. And so I'm going to do what I did last time, which is put the negative sign down with the 3. So I don't forget that it's there. I assume you got it, Lainey. Michael, what's the opposite of dividing by -3? Good. So we're going to multiply both sides by -3. And do I flip the sign when I multiply by -3? What do you guys think? Yes. Yeah. I'm multiplying by negative, right? So I have to flip the sign. So E is still, leave E over there. Leave E on the right side. And what's 1 times -3? -3. Is E bigger or smaller than -3? Smaller. Smaller now because I had to flip the sign. So open circle and shade to the left. Oh, darn it. Just erased it. There. Ooh. Our first big fat fraction of the chapter, of this chapter. Remember that big fat fractions have to be cleared before I do adding, subtracting, or multiplying, dividing. So to clear a big fat fraction, you have to multiply both sides by the bottom number of that fraction, which is what? 6. Now, last chapter, I saw a lot of people timesing 6 to the F and to the 5 term. The 6's on that side actually just cancel out. Dividing by 6 and times by 6 are opposites, so they're gone. You're just left with F minus 5. On the other side, though, we are going to times by 6. And Lainey, what's -3 times 6? That's 3 times 6. What's -3 times 6? -18. Now I'm going to get rid of the -5, which is our cousin Eddie term, I suppose you could say. And so I'm going to add 5 to both sides. What do you guys think? Is -18 and +5 going to join forces or go to war? Go to war. Who wins the war? Negatives by how many? 13. Now, if you're thinking for a second, maybe you are, isn't he doing the steps out of order? I thought we were supposed to add or subtract first. We aren't doing the steps out of order because clearing the fraction is actually the first thing we should try to do. Yes, we have to use multiplication to do that, but it's the first thing we should try to do. We just didn't actually have this step. We didn't have to solve for X because there was nothing with the F. There was no term in front of it. So we don't have any division step to do at the end. So open or close circle around the -13. Close it. And is F bigger or smaller? Bigger. So shade to the right. There you go. That's an example of a big fat fraction. Now we have one that has parentheses. And that means, according to my rules, distribute. Yeah, I have to distribute to get rid of the parentheses, and I should do that first. So the number in front of the parentheses is a -7. Now, when I distribute a -7, I do not have to flip the sign because I'm only distributing to that side to get rid of the parentheses. It's when I'm multiplying by a negative to both sides. However, the fact that I get -7g does mean I am going to have to flip eventually because I have a negative variable term. What's -7 times +3? -21. Please don't write plus -21. That will just confuse you. Just write -21. Okay. Alexis, what's the cousin Eddie term? And what I should do what to both sides? Perfect. Can you tell me what 28 plus 21 is? 49. Good job. Because we distributed the -7, it made our variable term negative. So I told you this is one we're going to have to flip on. Why do we have to flip? Because right here, our next step is to divide by a negative. So when you divide by this -7 on both sides, you're going to have to flip the sign. What is 49 divided by -7? It's -7, isn't it? -7 times -7 gives me +49. So yeah. What do you guys think? Open or closed circle? It's going to be closed. And am I going to shade to the right or left? Right, because G is bigger. Yep, so close that circle and shade to the right. H, next one. Calvin, distribute the 2 for me. 2 times H? Two times H is 2 times H. Don't overthink it. Help him, Maddox. 2H. Calvin, what's 2 times -5? 2 times -5. -10. So I'm going to write that as -10. Okay, Calvin, I'll give you another shot here. What's the cousin Eddie term we're going to try to get rid of? Nope, it's already on its own side. I'm looking for the term that's that shouldn't be with the variable. It's the -10. So I'm going to put +10. And Calvin, what's 6 + 10? 16. So I've got 16 and I've got the 2H. Is this one I'm going to have to flip on? No, because the variable term is a positive 2H. So I'm not going to flip anything. And let's see here. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. What's 16 divided by 2? 8. And that's enough information to help me graph. Open circle. Is H bigger or smaller? Smaller, shade to the left. All right, 2 examples left. For today. We'll finish it up tomorrow. Big fat fraction. Ooh, this looks like a challenging one. Andrea, what should I multiply both sides by to clear the fraction? By
5.
Nope.
Oh, negative.
It's a -3. Yes. So timesing both sides by -3 will cancel out the dividing -3. That just leaves us with -2j plus 5, whatever was on top. Just it's all we got now. And then on the right side, Andrea, what's 7 times -3? -21. Did we just flip? Or sorry, did we just multiply by a negative on both sides?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have to flip the sign. Flip. Maddox, what's the cousin Eddie term? Okay, so I'm going to put a what on both sides? It already says +5. You mean -5?
Yeah.
Okay. Does the -5 join forces or go to war with the -21? It goes to war. They're on the same team, are you sure? Joins forces to make -25 plus 21. Yes.
Oh, that's a.
There we go. Now into the dividing step. Gage, what am I going to divide by? Gage, why are you getting up? Sit back down. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Oh, now he's doing it in his head. All right, Gage, what's -26 divided by -2? Oh, wish you had that calculator now, don't you? What is it? It is 13. Gage, did I just divide both sides by a negative? I have to flip the sign again back to the way it was originally because I just divided by a -2. So open circle, is J bigger or smaller? Anybody? Smaller. Nope, we got one problem to do. Sorry, everyone else had to do it. Distribute the -4. Aaliyah, what's -4 times -10? What's that? Nope, 2 negatives make it positive. There we go. And -4 times k is just -4k. All right. Taylor, what's my cousin Eddie term? It's not the 4. What's the constant term that shouldn't be there with the variable? The constant term. Yeah, we're on this line right now.
Oh, sorry.
It's already on its own side. The 40, thank you. So I have to put a negative 40 to cancel it out. Taylor, is a 32 and a negative 40 going to join forces or go to war? Who wins the war? Really?
Probably the negative.
By how much the negatives win? I got all the time in the world.
We don't know. 8.
40 and 40 is 8 bigger. Thank you. Okay. And Izzy. Izzy, we're ready to divide by what on both sides? Are you sure it's -4? Izzy, what happens to both or to the sign when I divide by -4? I flip the sign. Yes. And Izzy, what's -8 divided by -4? How about 2 negatives make a +2 when I'm dividing? Open or close circle? Close. Is K bigger or smaller? I knew you had it in you. It took us a while to chug up that hill, but we got there. 4.4 is due Friday. You have plenty of examples to look at. Get started on it.